Ladies and gentlemen, I did give you a warning. We are so pleased you're here. Welcome, League members, honored guests, advocates, students, visitors. I'm Jane Hirsch, and I have the honor of co-presidenting with Reverend Kathy Schmitz. It's been a really, really good year for me, and I'm grateful for that. We also want to welcome you on this particular Hot Topics as we celebrate Black History Month. So happy Black History Month to each and every one of you. Quickly, I might also note that it's Valentine's Day, and my husband John is here, and I'd like to wish him a happy Valentine's lunch to you. He didn't know I was going to get out of it so inexpensively. We also want to welcome our guests who are online through Facebook Live. This recording will be available eventually on our Facebook page as a recording, as well as on our topics. If you haven't done so already, please silence your phones. The din of great conversation, you were able to discern what music was playing and liked that playlist. It's available to you. It's on Spotify. It is specially created for this day to honor Black history in light of all Black musical artists who have been a part of our growing up, a part of our continued lives, and it's a really great playlist. Black History Month, LWVOC '26. If you can't remember that, find me, I'll hook you up. It's a really good list. And if you wish, I would invite you to please join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, Thank you. There are a number of elected officials and candidates running for office among us. We invite you to come to the side mic if you are one of those people and introduce yourself along with the office you hold or the office for which you are running. And while those folks do that, I want to explain to our guests who may not know, the League of Women Voters across the country is a non-partisan organization. That means we neither endorse nor oppose any candidate, any held office, any political party. And it's for that reason that we tangibly express our non-partisanship by holding all of our applause until the very last candidate has introduced him, her, or themselves to us. I assure you, if you are all in for one person who's going to introduce themselves at the very end, you can let loose with me, all right? Thank you for introducing yourselves. Good night. I hope we have time for the program.
Good afternoon, good morning, I'm not sure which one it is. I'm Angie Gardner, Mayor of the historic town of Eatonville, as well as candidate for District 7 of the Orange County Board of Commissioners.
We are a non-partisan organization.
Good afternoon, I'm Melissa Vickers. I'm the Public Defender for Orange and Osceola County.
Good afternoon, my name is Asma Azam. I'm an attorney in town and I am a candidate for Orange County Judge in Group 5.
Good morning, my name is Tamika Hampton Johnson. I'm a local attorney here, and I'm a candidate for Circuit Court Judge here in the 9th Judicial Circuit, Group 1.
Hi everybody, my name is Attorney Walker Smith. I'm a local civil rights and injury attorney, and I'm a candidate for Orange County Commission, District 3.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ginger Miranda, and I am a judicial candidate for seat 18.
Good afternoon. My name is Camila Perry, and I'm a candidate for Circuit Court Judge, Group 31.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yesenia Barron, and I am running for Apopka City Council Seat 4. You can visit my website at yeseniabarron.com. That's YESENIABARON.com. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Nick Nesta. I'm the current City Commissioner for the City of Apopka, Seat 4, and I'm also running for Mayor of Apopka. Thank you.
Now they move the microphone. Hi, my name is Judy Garabo Hayes, and I'm running for Orange County Judge in seat 21.
Hi all, Keith Givens, Maitland City Council candidate, bit of Black history. When elected, first African American councilman since 1885, Reconstruction.
Good morning, League. My name is Aaron Lewis, and I am running to be the first Orange County Commissioner representing the new District 7.
Good afternoon, Christina Arguelles. I'm running for a Circuit Judge seat, Group 2. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, my name is Chelsea Simmons. I'm running for Orange County Judge, seat 19. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kelly Martinez-Sumrad. I'm your Orange County Vice Mayor and District 5 Orange County Commissioner. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Black History Month. I am Monique Worrell, your state attorney. Thank you all.
Woohoo! Yay!
It was pointed out to me that although some of these people are running against each other, notice how civilly they behaved, none of these judicial candidates are actually running against each other. So that was just an interesting thing for me to know. So there we go.
Thanks. And I love that all the candidates and elected officials were here. I actually was clapping only for Ms. Worrell's pantsuit. Sorry. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of the sponsors. At the bronze level, we are grateful to Honorable Cynthia McKinnon. And we'd like to thank our silver level sponsors, Lynn and David Barrelson, the Voting Voices, which includes Michelle Levy, Laurie and Richard Walk, Charlie Williams, and Caroline Emmons Schramm. And at the silver level, thank you to the Kindred Three, Joan Irwin, Sue Foreman, and Lee Rambo Kemp. And now I am pleased to welcome our new silver sponsors. They call themselves the Friends of the League. The Honorable Fred Lawton and Shelley Lawton, the Honorable Bob LeBlanc and Joni LeBlanc, Dr. Gloria Picard. And finally, we want to acknowledge our visionary sponsor, Jennifer and Phil Anderson. Would all of you please stand so we can express our appreciation? And it's only during this specific month in the year where we get to introduce a singer. And if you've been to a Hot Topics Black History Month before, you know that we're in for a really good deal. I am so delighted to welcome, Dr. Ethel Wellington Trawick to lead us in Lift Every Voice and Sing. For the past several years, her beautiful, expressive voice has been a highlight of our Black History Month. You're also welcome to stand and join singing. There'll be words on the screens, and there is a copy of the words on each table. Dr. Wellington Trawick.
I'm going to sing, but I'm going to direct, okay? Because we're going to sing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty.
prosperity. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the hope that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place where which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last where the bright gleam of our bright star is cast. And as we slow this down for our prayer, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee, lest our hearts, drunk from the wine of the world, we forget Thee, shadowed beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. What are you doing next month? I love that. So let me ask any and all of you, how many of you have ever swabbed for 23andMe? Anybody? How many of you have ever started an account with Ancestry.com? That's what I love about humanity. We are so curious about ourselves, where we come from, who we are as a general people, who the people are around us, what it's all about. Stay curious. And that's why this month, this particular Black History Month, applies to all of us and profoundly impacts every single one of us. Scientific findings have traced all living humans back to ancestors who lived in Africa. That means that even if you are the most pasty white Northern European person, you still have an element of your DNA that says you came from the African diaspora. In fact, the continent of Africa, and it's now 54 countries, are the most genetically diverse and more so than any other location in the world. Just take that in for a moment. So that means someone from Morocco is far more different and diverse than someone from South Africa, than a person from Sweden compared to someone from Malaysia. So in effect, it's really true that we can trace back all excellence, all ingenuity, all creativity, and all hospitality back to one continent. The rest of us and everything else is merely thousands of years of adaptation. Right? And so Black History Month isn't just American history. Black history is something each of us around the world is connected to at our very core, in our very genes, in the very fiber of our beings, every one of us. So here we all are, together today to celebrate our history. What an honor to introduce our two guests today. Our first is Dr. Rebekah McCloud, a public scholar and retired educator. She has spent nearly 50 years researching, writing, telling stories, and giving voice to Black life, culture, and history. A recent retiree, congratulations, Dr. McCloud spent 40 years as a faculty member and administrator at UCF. Now, my contract says that I'm obligated to say go Knights at this point. But what? Whatever. My spirit is unwilling. But for you, Dr. McCloud, go Knights. She is a former school principal and an award-winning teacher. She is a published author, which includes Nuggets of Encouragement, and it's a series of books to uplift and inform those who have a faith and want to walk more strongly and deeply with their God. Right? It's available on Amazon, if we're still shopping there. She is the former editor of the Florida English Journal, and you can find her at RebekahMcCloud.com. Dr. McCloud currently serves as, hold on, all of this, Vice President of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, the Central Florida Dorothy Turner Johnson Branch. Dr. McCloud. Dr. Marvin Dunn, a native Floridian, is Professor Emeritus and retired chairperson of the Department of Psychology at Florida International University. Go whatever they are. He is the founder and president of the Miami Center for Racial Justice. Dr. Dunn is a renowned expert on race and ethnic issues in America and a nationally respected scholar, author, historian, documentary filmmaker, and community activist. His book, A History of Florida, what is my deal? A History of Florida Through Black Eyes is this month's read for the DEIA Book Club. It can be found with his full bio on lwvoc.org Hot Topics page. You can also find him, as I did a few years ago, on Threads, where he shares Florida history and advocates for truth and justice. Dr. Marvin Dunn.
Good afternoon. And thank you, I like that. Let's do it again. Good afternoon. All right, I knew y'all could do better. All righty. Thanks to the Orange County League of Women Voters for the invitation to be a part of today's hot topic discussion. If you have not read Dr. Dunn's book, please do. You add it to your book list. It is a wonderful read. Dr. Dunn, it is my honor to chat with you today. Your book spoke to me. And I was telling my friend Dr. Ruth Edwards when I got the book, I sat down and started reading it, and after about 2 hours, I was 162 pages in, and thought, oh man, I gotta take a break and do something else. I went back and read all 367 pages. So you can do it. It's a wonderful read. Please, I encourage you to read the book. But I really like your book because it spoke to me. And your writing gave voice and place and agency to people and events and location, things you've known and unknown to me. Some of the things I knew about in the book, some I didn't. So, I like to learn every day, so I learned some new things. Thanks so much for sharing your story, your research, and your insight into Florida history through Black eyes. So let's start a chat. I have a few questions for you, and some of them are multiple parts. So I'm going to start my first question. In your book, you talk a good bit about Jim Crow. So here are a few questions. And there are 5 of them that relate to this one. So A, B, C, D, and E. So the first one, what was the emotional impact of Jim Crow on you, and how did you overcome it, or have you?
Well, first of all, thank you all for having me here today. I'm very pleased to be with you this afternoon. I remember when I first realized that being black was a problem. I was born in DeLand, and yes. And when I was 7 years old, I went to the Volusia County post office with my mom. I must have been 7 because I realized, I knew that standing in line was something you were supposed to do. And these white people kept getting in front of my mother and me. Again and again and again, the white folks would get in front of us. And when we got outside, I said to Mom, why did those people keep getting in front of us? And she said, because we're colored. I was 7 years old. Here I am at 85. And that's the first story that occurs to me in response to your question. When my brother and I would get on the bus with my mom, back in those days, she would take our hand as we walked past the white people to get to the back of the bus. Again and again, we went through that experience in DeLand and later in Miami. And I remember how it felt, walking past the white people. The feeling I had was that I'm not good enough to sit up here with these people. I'm not good enough to go to a white school. That's the injury of racism. And I remember all 4 times I was called a nigger. Mm-hmm. You never forget that. So how did that impact me? How did I get over it? You never get over it, really. Mm-hmm. What you have to get over is not being angry at anybody today for what happened to me and others like me 50 years ago. So I'm not angry about it, but I remember it, and it still hurts. So yes, I think I overcame it and became interested in race and race violence and lynching in particular. And when I was growing up, my mom, when my brothers and I would do something stupid, would say, whatever possessed you to do that?
Mine too.
Yeah, right? So whatever possessed me to study lynching, of all things, which is kind of like being a proctologist, difficult work. So somebody's got to dig into it. But as I evolved in my life, I began to appreciate the impact of race. We're not over it. We are a work in progress. And in these last few years, we are particularly challenged in that respect. So I'll stop at that. I just want to say one thing, though, before I go farther. As I said, I'm 85 years old. Any of you who are under 60, you're children to me. And I was so impressed with all these youngers running for judge. My God, these little kids coming up, going to be judges. Good luck to you in delivering justice in these days. I'll stop at that.
Okay. Well, I'm not 85, but if they're under 50, they're children to me too.
Okay.
So, briefly explain to us what Jim Crow is.
Jim Crow was a system of legal system and a social system in which blacks were relegated to second-class citizenship. Jim Crow was a character right after the Civil War, a white man. His name was Daddy Rice, a white guy who put on blackface and dressed up stupidly and started talking like a fool and imitating black people, and white folks thought that was hilarious. Jim Crow going around with these shows, making fun of us. And that's how the character evolved, Jim Crow, Jim Crow. And from that person and his performances, and others imitated him, this image became a very common feature in the South. And then came the practice of Jim Crow, where physical distance between blacks and whites was required. And you know, of all the things that Jim Crow enforced most rigidly, it was not school integration. There were problems with that. It was swimming pools.
Right.
You can go to school with our kids, but don't get in the same swimming pool with a black person. The water becomes poison, tainted. You got to get out if you're white. So Jim Crow was a way of letting you know, yeah, you're not good enough. I was a good student. They would send me over to DeLand High to get the textbooks the white kids were done with, to bring to our school, with all the writings in it, pages ripped out and all of that. And the sick thing is, we were glad to get them. Can you imagine? We were glad to get the old books from the white kids because they were getting the new books from the state. That shows you how sick the process was and could be again if we let that happen. I'll end with one other story. I was privileged to be an officer in the United States Navy for 7 years. And in my last year, I was on an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean, having served 6 years as an officer. And I wanted to get a doctorate degree in psychology from my home state university. I wanted to go to UF. This is 67. And I wanted to apply, I did apply for admission to the doctoral program in psychology at the University of Florida from C. And I got a letter back from the University of Florida, I still have it. Dear Lieutenant Dunn, the University of Florida does not accept Negro students in our graduate program. However, if you were to be accepted to any university outside of Florida, the state of Florida would pay your tuition. 1967, serving my country in uniform across the ocean, I get this letter. I had applied to the University of Tennessee at the same time, got a letter from them around the same time, admitted full ride, never paid a penny at UT, loved it. So now when the University of Florida plays anybody anything, I'm for the other team.
Wow. That's interesting. Tell me, what were the underlying motivations behind the Jim Crow laws?
What was the motivation behind? Oh, sex. Sex. There was this, well, let me not over-drama. There has been, particularly among Southern white men, going back, a sense of sexual jealousy of black men. You got to keep them away from white women. They're rapists, they're beasts. So the more physical separation between black men and white women, the better. So Jim Crow grew out of that, the need to separate black men from white women. It didn't work. Look at our multiracial society today. It didn't work. But that was the motivation for it.
Good. All right, you said you thought that it was, as an institution, Jim Crow was finished with. Is it really?
No. When there are laws passed that punish one race and rewards another, that's Jim Crow still alive today. When you have economic policies that benefit one race and punish another, you still have Jim Crow. So the laws are gone. It's not legal to do these things, but ways can be found to punish people based on their race without having to put it in writing. 250 years of America, and race does still matter, unfortunately. That does not mean that nothing has changed, that things are as bad as they were. I talk to young folks sometimes, they'll say, Dr. Dunn, these crackers just as bad as they always were. No, they were not. I knew bad crackers. You don't know bad crackers. Plus, I've had to teach kids, I don't want to go too far afield, some of my best friends are crackers. As I've done this work around Florida, traveled around and talked to folks trying to learn the stories of what happened here and there with lynchings and all of that, I've had white people come forward to help me. And they've taught me that the cracker culture is a real thing that does not necessarily mean racism. Everybody who's a cracker was not a lynch, was not a member of the Klan, etc. So I'm trying to, and I've made an effort to broaden my acceptance of crackers as another culture. Granted, we know how some things have evolved from the culture that have not been healthy, but just to dismiss everybody, as my dad did. My dad didn't like white people. He raised 5 sons, told us, don't go around crackers. You can't trust now one of them. I said, wait, Dad, I can't trust any white person? No, not now one of them. They'll stab in the back every time. Sooner or later, they'll call you a nigger. Don't trust them. I was grown before my father told me what happened that poisoned him towards white people. DeLynn Springs, Glenwood, y'all from around here know, my dad and mom were courting in Glenwood, right outside of DeLynn. And they were in high school. And they were dating. My dad was walking my mom back, our kids do. I walk you part of the way, you come back and walk me part. And some white guys on the truck passed them. And my dad said he remembered these guys. That was old J.C. Dunn. They turned around, came back, and ran them off the road. My dad had to push my mom into a ditch, fall over on top of her to keep them from getting killed. And it was, I wouldn't say hatred, dislike, discomfort with white people grew from that incident. So if you trace back those of us who have the most difficulty getting over racial and animosity, we can normally trace it to some particular event in our lives.
Okay, good. So how do you think Jim Crow impacted education?
Well, the first thing I had to appreciate when I got to Morehouse College was that there was another whole way of looking at life. Yes. I'd come out of the South, come out of DeLand, come out of segregated Miami, into an educational system such as the world has never seen. That's my prejudice about Morehouse College. But my education, once I left Florida and became more widely traveled and more widely educated, I was able to see white people, see race in a different way. My education, particularly at Tennessee, I would go to places where, in Appalachia, where little kids had never seen a black person. I was a school psychologist in training at the time. They'd send me out to test kids all over Appalachia, and I'd go to some of these little towns, and the kids would come, can I touch your hair? I had hair then. I used to have hair. But I would let them. So I guess in that setting and in other settings, my education has been uplifting and has been enlightening. And I'm very deeply appreciative of the places I've attended that helped me reach that status.
So you fondly talked about Morehouse.
Yes.
So talk about the value of HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities.
They saved a lot of lives, black lives. We could not get in any place else. We got into these schools. And of course, some of them were elite compared to others, but then there were also the state schools that we had access to. We got into these schools because these HBCUs existed. And they did more than just educate us. They also trained us, they taught us, they raised us up. The first week that I arrived at Morehouse College as a freshman in 1957, Cecil Franklin, Aretha's brother, was in our class. And there we were, the first day at Morehouse, sitting on the steps, and in come two canary yellow Cadillac convertibles. Aretha was not, well, she was still a kid, just driving her dad's Cadillac. And here they come with the tops down, bringing Cecil to Morehouse. And Cecil Franklin gets out, he had a process, a Morehouse suit. Oh, he was sharp. All this, oh my God, again, they weren't famous, just Dr. Benjamin Mays, who was the legendary president of Morehouse College, the next day called Cecil into his office, told him, get a haircut, get some decent clothes, and send that Cadillac back to Detroit. And the next week, Aretha comes back and takes the car back to Detroit. My point is, we were taught certain things that you don't do, you don't act in certain ways if you're a Morehouse man. If you're, you know. So these schools did more than just teach us facts, they taught us values that we may have missed otherwise.
My dad was a Morehouse man, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So tell me about voting rights. Now, how did the voting rights for African Americans develop from Jim Crow to the current era?
My parents were Republicans. My dad and mom were Republicans, and they voted as Republicans. They were not allowed to join the Democratic Party until 1947, when the party, by rule, had up to that time eliminated blacks, prevented blacks from joining the party. But voting rights didn't just happen. You know what it took to get to where we are. People died. I take students and others to the grave of July Perry in Ocoee. He's buried in Orlando, as you know, but he was lynched because of what happened in Ocoee in 1920 when black folks tried to vote. We go to July Perry's grave in Greenwood Cemetery. I think it's Greenwood Cemetery. Yes. And we pray over that man's grave. So we have a debt to people like that. And what I try to do with these tours, we call them Teach the Truth tours, is to take people to where these things happened, where the blood was shed, and have people walk that ground and feel that space. I purchased 5 acres of land in Rosewood 15 years ago. I'm the only black person today who owns land in Rosewood, Florida. 5 pristine acres of land that has the railroad track, if you know the Rosewood story. The train came in and secretly brought in and rescued some people who had been hidden in the J.W. Wright house, a white man and his wife who protected people. So I bought those 5 acres of land. And I told my kids, if y'all sell my Rosewood land, I'm going to come back from the grave and honk you behind. Don't sell my land in Rosewood, because I want that to be a place where people can come from now on. Rosewood is all white. There are no black folks out there. And when I go to visit my property, everybody knows Dunn is out there. But we're going to keep that land, and we're going to keep taking people there to be able to experience that space and that history.
Good. So tell us a little bit, now I'm going to divert from my questions because you talked about Ocoee and what happened there. Can you give us like a brief synopsis of what happened there in case people don't know what happened there?
Yes, 1920, July Perry, a black man, tried to vote and was turned away at the polls. He came to Orlando and met with a federal judge, Judge Cheney was his name, Republican judge, who told July Perry, go back to the polls and get the names of the people who would not let you vote. That was a very dangerous thing to tell him to do that. Go back and get the names of the people who stopped you from voting. He goes back, a lot of details I'll leave out, but eventually a mob comes to his house because he tried to vote and surrounded his house and started firing into it and killed 2 members of the mob. But the newspaper said black men killed 2 white men, and that brought the mob to Ocoee. The black man ensconced in this house had killed 2 men, one of whom was acting as a deputy. And that brought the mob to Ocoee. Ocoee had 2 sections, north and south, that were black. They burned down the entire south section of Ocoee, black section. We don't know how many people died. Most of the people who died were women and children. They buried them in a mass grave in Ocoee. You can go there. You would never know that it's a mass grave because it looks like a football field, surrounded by a picket fence, iron picket fence. No markers, just an open field. And then there's a sign, a mark that says, let me not mistake it, here lies some of the African-American residents of Ocoee. That's all it says. Here lies some of the African-American residents of Ocoee. You would never know that there were babies buried out there who got burned up in those houses when they attacked Ocoee. But that's what happened. And all the black folks left Ocoee, and none of them returned until the 1970s. But as long as may I just mention another story in the book?
Yes, go ahead.
The most powerful story, even beyond Rosewood. Willie James Howard. Those of you who read the book, you know who Willie James was. Willie James, 1944. He was 15 years old, a smart boy. I met his aunt and his school teacher. And Willie James got a job working in a 5 and dime store downtown Live Oak, Florida, during the Christmas break. And in that dime store, he fell in love with a white girl. Her name was Cynthia Goff. She was 17. She was a beauty queen. And he wrote her a letter that her father found. And her father had been a member of the Florida House of Representatives. Phil Goff was his name. Mr. Goff gets 2 other white men. Willie James is at the store working, and he hears that these men are after him. He runs home to his mama, who's sitting on the front porch. And he falls to her knees, and he's grabbing his mom around the knees, trying to tell her what happened. And Phil Goff drives up with 2 other white men and take the boy at gunpoint from his mama. And his mother goes running behind the car as they drive away with the boy. They go to the dad's workplace, a lumber yard, to get the dad, make him get in the car. They don't have to make him, that his boy. And they take them out to the Swanee River. Phil Goff admitted to the sheriff. He tied the boy's hands and feet on the way to the Swanee River. Got to the river, Phil Goff puts the gun to the boy's head, tells him jump, or take what's in this barrel. Now, Mr. Howard survived this, so we know what happened. Willie James gave his dad his little Bible that he always carried. His dad said to Willie James, son, I'm glad you went to church. And Willie James jumped into the Swanee River and drowned. The sheriff the same day had a black undertaker go out, get the body, and bury Willie James in an unmarked grave. Oh, he called in Phil Goff and the other 2 white men, asked what happened. Well, they said, we took him out, yeah, we did, to give him a whooping for writing that fresh letter. And he tried to get away and fell into the river and drowned himself. And his dad just watched. That is the official story today in Live Oak as to what happened to Willie James Howard. I went and met the publisher of the newspaper in Live Oak to ask her, a white lady, tell me about the Willie James Howard lynching. She said, oh, that wasn't a lynching, Dr. Dunn. That was an accidental drowning. That's the story of what happened to Willie James today. Every time I go to that boy's grave, he follows me back to Miami. And the last part about the story is the current black undertaker did lay down a flat stone to mark Willie James's grave, just a flat stone. But I had trouble as I take people out to meet Willie James, finding his grave. And on one of the tours, a white woman said, I'm going to do something about your problem finding his grave. And that lady gave $3,000 for now a beautiful headstone for Willie James, so people can find the boy without as much trouble as it used to be. But these stories need to be kept alive. Mm-hmm. We need to know who Willie James was, who July Perry was, who Sylvester Carrier was, and so on and so forth. But today, Florida is trying to suppress these stories. It is as if, well, it is as if there was racial violence on both sides. That's the way Florida prefers to have these stories told. Yes, there was racial violence. Yes, there was slavery, but everybody was doing it. So give us a break. I'll stop at that, otherwise I'll go on.
Well, actually, that's a perfect segue into my next question for you. And my question has a couple of parts again. I like these multiple part questions here. So the first part is, how is the curtailment of Black Studies program hurt education? And then discuss with us what is authentic Black history.
Let's take the first part. How has suppression of Black history hurt?
Yes, how has it hurt?
Oh my goodness. If you don't know about someone else's pain, you cannot understand and appreciate them. We need to know what happened to the Jews. How dare us not know what happened to them? We need to know what happened to Native Americans. Otherwise, how can we empathize with their history and understand their suffering if we don't know what happened, particularly the bad parts? So if education tries to smooth over those things that are uncomfortable to live with, try to rationalize racial violence, that's not helping anybody. We need to understand each other's pain. I say that when I have a particular African American in Miami talking about the Cubans, came and took our jobs. Cubans this. Whoa. Do you know what they went through in Cuba? Do you know why these people feel the way they do? Let's understand them and where they're coming from. So I see a need to get people of differing views together in the same room to talk about these things so that we can come together by understanding each other's history. That gets us past the blaming part, but also understanding that, at least as far as racial violence and what have you is concerned, the folks who did those things to us, who burned down Ocoee, they're gone. Those folks are dead. Don't carry anger, I say to Black kids. Well, who are you mad at now then? Your classmate who's white standing next to you, he didn't do anything to you. Put the anger aside and become determined to make everybody better through your own efforts.
Okay, so talk to me about, or talk to us about authentic Black history, and what are students learning in school that's erroneous?
Authentic Black history, let's just talk about Florida for a moment.
Okay.
Goes back to the beginning. Somehow or another, Black history has been written as if it started in 1619 with the English. Please. Black history, at least in Florida, started in 1513. There were Black folks with Ponce de Leon. They didn't tell me that in school, that there were Black folks with Ponce de Leon, and they were not all enslaved. There was a Black man with Columbus. So what about the start with the white folks arriving in 1619? Authentic history goes to the beginning, not to the part that's convenient for the folks who are now writing that history and telling that history. Authentic history goes to the beginning, and it leaves out nothing. It includes everything. One of the things that I noticed in Black history is, yes, we do have our heroes. We have King, we have Rosa, we have Booker T, we have George Washington carving that damn peanut. We have all of that. They taught us that. But what about Malcolm? What about Marcus Garvey? What about what about the Black Seminoles? What about the Black folks who armed themselves and said, no? I met a gentleman in Miami when I was writing a book on the history of Blacks in Miami who had been a member of the Marcus Garvey movement, the Back to Africa movement.
Right.
All right. And these were militants back in the 1920s and what have you. And I said to him, I have a photograph of the Klan riding through Black Miami. How did you all handle that? He said, yeah, they rode through. And when the Klan would ride through, you knew they were coming. The Black folks knew when the Klan was going to ride in Overtown. How do they know? Because Black women worked in their homes and they talked about it. So by the time they come in the night, guys, we knew they were coming. And they said, yeah, they rode through. And what you would do when the Klan was coming through is you would tell your wife and children, hide under the bed, turn the lamps down, be quiet, they're coming through. Can you imagine you're a man having to tell your children, hide, having to tell your wife, hide? And This gentleman told me we didn't hide. Those of us who belong to the Marcus Garvey movement, we sat on our porch with our pistols in our laps. And they rolled right on by us. Went down to folks who were not resisting. So those kinds of stories need to be told. Those black folks who were willing to go as far as to arm themselves to resist being suppressed, if not killed.
So
I'm going to forget this unless I just need.
Go ahead.
Before you leave this room, I want you to understand the difference between a lynching and a common murder. What makes it a lynching? What makes a murder a lynching? One, there has to be a dead body. This was debated at Tuskegee back in the 30s. Suppose the person just lost an arm or a leg. Is that a lynching? No. It has to be a dead body. Second, the killing must have taken place extra-legally, outside of the law. Third, it must have been done by 3 or more people. And fourth, the motive must be race, vengeance, or honor. That makes a killing a lynching. That makes a killing a lynching. And that became my subject matter of study. Where it happened, where were the worst places, what were the causes, where did reconciliation take place? And there were some places where reconciliation happened, Newberry being one example, Newberry, Florida, where in 1916 they lynched 6 people at one time, 5 of them on a single limb. The Newberry hanging tree, I take my groups to the Newberry hanging tree, huge oak tree that was used since 1903 to lynch people. Lynch hammock, they call it. Still today, it's called lynch hammock. So it's important to understand all deaths are not the same. A lynching, and we still have lynchings. It's not all done. I'll end with this. I saw a lynching. I was there. May 17th, 1980 in Miami. I saw a lynching. Yep. This boy was surrounded by 20 or so white boy during this riot on the ground, and there were a group of 15 or so black young men using a Miami Herald newspaper dispenser, the metal boxes to sell the papers on the street. They were using that thing to hit this boy. Jeffrey Culp was his name. Got caught in this riot, not even knowing where he was. They dragged him out of his car and killed him. And I had heard about this violence. I drove up and I got there, they were still killing him. So think about the definition I just gave you. Was Jeffrey Culp, a white boy, 17 years old, in Miami, May 17th, was he lynched? Damn right he was. And you see something like that, it stays with you. I'm watching this boy being killed with 1,000 other people watching this. So we're all vulnerable. If enough hate, enough anger gets caught up in one place, we're capable of doing anything to each other.
So tell me, what kind of things did you learn in college that you did not learn when you were in elementary school, middle school, high school, about Black history? What did you learn?
At Morehouse College, all boys, Baptist school, they wanted to teach us how to be good Christians. So they were bringing these preachers to teach us, to lecture to us. They'd bring in somebody 5 days a week. And they brought in this little jackleg preacher from Montgomery named Martin Luther King, Jr. Now, I got to Morehouse in 57. King just left in 49, so he was a kid to us. But because they didn't have anybody else, like Daddy King, his dad, they would throw in Martin Luther King. And I can tell y'all, I don't remember a damn thing King said the 3 times he spoke. And Julian Bond was in my class. Julian slept too. Maynard Jackson, the airport in Atlanta is named after Maynard Jackson. He was in my class. He slept too. They're both gone now, so they're not here to defend themselves. But they were sitting next to me. I saw them. So I don't remember anything King said those 3 times. But I saw Malcolm once. That same year, that first freshman year, I went to hear Malcolm X speak. I had never heard anybody talk like that. Coming out of DeLand, Volusia County, Dade County. And Malcolm took the stage by himself. Full house, people standing all around. And started talking about America and about being black. And that famous phrase of his, by any means necessary. Well, I hadn't thought about that. We have to become free by any means necessary. I'm still struggling with that. Still struggling with that. So why do I remember that message more than I remember King saying, turn the other cheek? I learned at Morehouse that it was my job, my responsibility to try to be a leader, to try to help my community wherever I live to become better. That was my job, my responsibility as an educated person at that school. And before getting there, I was just going to get a degree so I could, become a psychologist and what have you. My mission became broader because of where I went to school and who taught me.
Good. You and I were chatting last week or so, and we discovered that although we were born and raised in different places, you were born and raised in the South, I was born and raised in the North, and there's more than a decade that separates us in age, but we had a lot of similarities.
Yes.
In between our lives. And you started college early at 17. I started at 16, turned 17 my first semester there. But we talked a lot about being the only or the first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so talk to us about a bit about the impact of desegregation on black people in America and how you see it.
When I became an officer in the Navy, the Navy had 0.08% black officers on ships. They had black officers who were doctors, physicians, supply officers, but on ships. Very, very, very rare black officers. So when I got to the first aircraft carrier, the Kitty Hawk out of San Diego, out of 1,300 officers, I was the only black officer on that ship. Out of 1,300 officers. And the day that I walked aboard that ship, someone down in the boiler room wrote, USS Nigger ship. But my fellow officers didn't know how to treat me. They didn't know, what to do with me. We would get to a port of entry, and they would all take to the beach and leave me. So the sense was I'm the first and only, but it didn't feel good. It felt lonely. And often it makes other folks around you feel uncomfortable because they don't know how to treat you. So much has been made, too much has been made about being the first and being the only. There's a price that goes with that. You can probably relate to that as well.
I can, yes. Yeah, I remember starting college, and I went to St. John Fisher, upstate New York, and I was number 10 of 10 black students at the college. And when I got there, I was 16. First of all, they didn't know what to do with me. And then I came to the college, and they had a program that was an HEOP program, but I wasn't eligible for the program. But they didn't know what to do with me. So they said, we're going to put you in this program. We can't give you any money. Well, I had a full ride, so I didn't need it. They said, well, we're going to send you over here anyways, because there's a black guy over there, and he's working with these other 9 students, and you're black too, so we're going to put you over here. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was there with this man, Bruce McDaniels. I'll never forget him, that he really wrapped his arms around the 10 of us and shepherded us through this whole process of being in college. And it was absolutely wonderful. And I was there, this little girl. My father retired, moved to Florida. There I was in New York, 16-year-old in college. And I remember my dad coming out and saying to Mr. McDaniels, you got to take care of my daughter. Nothing better happen to her because, I don't have to come back up here. So, they really did, he and his wife, they took care of the students who were there. And for me, it made a difference in my life. And that's when I said, there has to be something for black students who go off to college. I knew I was going to college. Like I say, my dad was a Morehouse man. It was just which one. We talked about it at home, so there was, I wasn't a first-gen student. But I said that there are these students, there are 10 of us. 9 of them were first-gen students, had no clue about going to college, had no financial support. And I thought, in my life, if not me, who? And that's how I became involved with education, higher education, and working with students, and dedicated a good deal of my life with TRIO programs and other kinds of programs to help get students not into HBCUs, but into white colleges, because there's a place for black students there, but somebody has embraced those students and helped shepherd them through.
Let me give you one other example of
and then we have
the rest of your question. We were a migrant family, leaving DeLand every summer to go up to Long Island, New York to pick potatoes, coming back when school started, the month or two after school started. But we would spend the first month or so in New York going to schools with white kids on Long Island. And my brother and I were the only black students in this school. Only black students in the school. And I remember one of the incidents is that my teacher, a young white teacher, wanted to try to have me feel like I was part of the class. During music class one day, she said, okay, Marvin, sing a song for us. I said, I don't know how to sing. I said, sure you do. Sing a gospel, sing a gospel song for us. And I'm slinking back, I don't know how to sing. Sweet Chariots one. But my sense was this woman was trying to help me feel comfortable, trying to help me feel included, but she was making me feel even worse and even more conspicuous by saying, you're black, you ought to know how to sing a gospel at least. But I had not gotten that talent. So yeah, being first, being the only carries a certain risk and a certain price with you. Otherwise I wouldn't be relating the story to you now, all the many decades later. Stop.
Oh yes, stop. Okay.
Dr. Dunn, Dr. McCloud, we are grateful for your wisdom, for your heart, for all of the time that you invest in us today. Thank you for that continued teaching that we can all learn from moving forward especially. Thanks very much. Sure, why not? Neither of you are an elected official, right? We can clap for you. I'd like to call up the other co-president, Reverend Kathy Schmitz, with some closing comments. Also, if anyone dropped a bracelet, we have it. Is that you? Come see.
Oh, there you go. So we're going to turn things over now to our mic manager, Gina Hall, for Q&A from league members. So you can make a line over there, and we've got about 5 or 7 minutes for that.
Okay, so if you want to come up, just form a line here. I'm going to hold the mic like I do because it's my toy for the month. But anyway, and keep it brief. One question, please. No comments. None of that. Just a question. David?
Okay, Dr. Dunn, have you ever heard of Fort Mose in St. Augustine?
Oh, yes.
They got a new also, in Ocoee, they have a Unity Park there. It was dedicated in 2023 to those that were massacred in 2020. Also, I think Dr. Graham Harris has written a book, Remembering Paradise Park. She's an authority on black history in Ocala. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Jerry?
Thank you both for a fabulous presentation. Dr. Dunn, you mentioned the need to make sure that we keep this history, and you referenced some plaques that may not tell the whole history. I know that there's a movement to improve the historical plaques throughout our country, and especially in the South.
Yes.
What is the status of that movement, and how can the folks in this room help with that movement?
The Equal Justice Initiative is the major entity that is trying to document lynchings in our country. In order to have recognition for what happened in your county, the county has to request from EJI and Montgomery that a marker recognizing that event be brought to the community. They have in Montgomery markers for every lynching that they've documented. And your community can get your lynching monument marker brought to your county if the county commission asks for it. And those county commissions in Florida, some of them have done that, are getting those markers brought to their counties. Thank you for the question.
Callie?
Thank you, doctors. Dr. Dunn, it was such an honor to learn from you today. You touched me in a really unique way. As a mom, thank you for educating me today, because I'm going to teach it to my children. So these stories that you referenced, they will live on through two little minds. But in seriousness, since I was elected into office, we have received from the governor several times letters that say, well, the Attorney General, you can vote yes on something, you can vote no on something, you can abstain, but if you don't vote the way I'm telling you to vote, I will fine you, I will fee you, I will pursue civil charges against you, and I will remove you from office. And I have, really it's two questions, I'm sorry. One, when you review the time period of history, as a historian and as an expert, where does that place us on a timeline where we could see that, hey, this has the markings of this era? And then my second question is, you have some elected officials who will concede because it's better to stay in the seat than to be removed and have someone appointed by the person who made the threat. And you will have some elected officials who will stand and say, hell no. And I want to know from you, what is your advice to elected officials?
Speak up. Speak up. Speak up. I'm suing the President of the United States as we speak over the takeover of land that belongs to Miami-Dade College that's being taken over by the president for his library. But not to get political, even if a Democrat was doing that, I would sue. So public officials, I think especially, give up the seat, stand up. You will be more respected by your constituency if you stand up.
Thank you. And where on the historic timeline would you place an argument like that? You can vote yes, no, abstain, or if you don't, you've got, these consequences.
I don't get your question. What do you mean, where on the timeline? What are you doing?
If you look back at historic governments, where are we? Is this a dictatorship of some nationality? Is it a part in the United States history that's repeating itself? Where on the historic timeline are we repeating ourselves?
Understood. No, we have never gone through this. We're not repeating anything right now. This is a unique time for us as a country. And I think it's a transitory time. I think we're going through a period when our country will come back together and put race and income and things aside as we should. I'm not frightened by the current moment at all. I'm encouraged by the fact that most people in our country, I think, are fair folks who want to see us do the right thing by everybody. So stand tall, speak up. This moment will pass.
If they're quick. One more question?
Short one.
Okay, short one.
If they're real quick. Real quick. Okay, first off, League of Women Voters was established because after women received the right to vote, they didn't. And so they recognized that they needed an organization to educate female voters. Going to your history roots now as a history professor, when African Americans and Black people received the right to vote, was there an organization that was established, or is there one that's still established? Just out of curiosity, like the League, for example, to educate voters.
Well, the NAACP started out with that role. Then CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, also took that role. I don't know who's doing it now. I don't see any entity that now has taken on the role to do what those historical organizations have done for us.
Void that needs, is that a void that needs to be filled?
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. Loved your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back to Kathy.
Okay, great. I'm Kathy Schmitz. I'm Jane's co-president, and we appreciate you both so very, very much. If you'd like to return to your seats, you can do that. We have some announcements for the good of the order. I do want to just say that here in Orange County, we have partners that we work with as a league in Equal Ground, and 3 of their representatives are here today. Would you like to just stand up and give people a wave? They are doing some of that work that was just asked about. There are not copies of Dr. Dunn's book for sale today. However, I saw that some of you brought your books to be signed. You will find Dr. Dunn at this table right here up front afterwards, and so I know people will also want to talk to him, but let's let people get their books signed right after the program. Whoops. Hit the wrong button. Okay. The League of Women Voters nationally is 106 years old this week. Right? We've been organizing, advocating, defending democracy in moments when it has been under real threat. And while this is something to celebrate, it is also a moment to ground ourselves in the work that has always been required when democracy is under threat. So to that end, we have some calls to action for you. First of all, the legislative session in Florida, we're about halfway through. Call and email your legislators. They love to hear from you. So do that often. I want to raise up one bill that has a lot to do with the League's work, and that is House Bill 991, Senate Bill 1334. Despite claims by its proponents, it functions as a voter suppression bill. It creates unnecessary hurdles for voters in terms of time, cost, and access. It's currently working its way through the committees, so now is the time to express your opposition. So we'll look out for alerts that will be coming from state and from us. That's House Bill 991 and Senate Bill 1334. So make sure you're reading our weekly newsletter, share it often, follow our social media. Please, you get updated information there, but like, comment, and share. That helps our reach. Support our efforts as a nonprofit and volunteer. You can do that on our website. Please, if you don't know how to do that, ask me or Jane. We will hook you up. So we got some upcoming events. We've got local municipality elections. Eatonville is March 7th. March 10th is Apopka, Edgewood, Maitland, Oakland, and Windermere. Who's in any of those municipalities? All right. You've updated all your information. You're good to go. You got your plan? Good. Now, we've got a special event coming up. Is the Sun Setting on Clean Water? This is a fundraising event for leaguers and guests, and that's next week, February 17th, from 5:30 to 7:30. That should be a really interesting event. Please look for information in the newsletter. As was mentioned, the DEIA Social Justice Book Club is discussing Dr. Dunn's book this month, so that's a chance to go even deeper, and won't that be wonderful after today and getting all of this additional insight. We also want to mention to you initiative out of state that are our DEIA folks are also advocating. Our state league has an initiative called Bringing Floridians Together, and they're going to do a quarterly book read, and this month is called High Conflict: How We Get Trapped and How We Get Out. There are flyers on your table. It looks like a really interesting book. I've seen it referenced many places, so check that out if you can. There's no overtime, Hot Topics overtime today, but we do hope you will join us next month on March 11th for Making History: Women Lead the Judiciary. We have a lot of women in leadership in our judiciary system right now in Central Florida. We expect a full house, and we encourage you to register early. We really encourage you to register early. It is so helpful to our planning committee. We also love to learn and improve, so please make sure you fill out our event survey. We do truly, truly value your feedback. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.